Okay, we are live and streaming. This is another tutorial for beginners to PixInsight, and what I'm going to show is how I use the blink process to filter my images. So I'm going to start out up here in process. I'm going to open the blink tool. And what I've done is I've captured a bunch of 10-second exposures with my Stellina telescope. And in the blink tool, we've got several icons that give us some options, because what I want to do is filter out the bad images. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to this Add Image Files. That's this little folder icon here. And I'm going to browse to the raw images, and I'm just going to select them all. I usually do this in chunks of 100, but we'll go ahead and pull in the whole list of files, and you can see down here in my process console that it's loading the images. So what the blink tool is going to do is it's going to give us a preview of the images. Now the images right now are what's called linear. They have not been stretched, so they're not really visible, but we'll use the software to artificially increase the intensity so that we can see the image. And we're going to go through and figure out what images don't fit, so that when we stack these images together, we have high quality images. Some of the things we'll be looking for are blurry images, images that are shifted too much, and you'll see the point when this pulls up. Now, what I've imaged is a very not well-known nebula called Able 24. You can see I have a nice star field here. Now, some people like to use the blink tool. They'll just press this little play icon and let it run through, and you can see it'll basically loop through all the images, and you can see the star field shifting around. Notice that there's these fixed pixels, these tiny point pixels in the background that stay fixed. That is noise. That is camera noise, and that will be corrected out during the processing. But you can also see here we've got this really white fade, and then we had that edge come up. So we basically had some interference at the end there, but I prefer to just go through manually. So what I'll do is come up here, I'm highlighting this, and I'm just hitting the down arrow, and I'm keeping an eye on the image to the left, and I just tap through. You can see the field shift. That's why we have star alignment. But right there you can see we've got our first bad frame. I'm going to just zoom in so you can see how this is sort of streaked out, blurred out. So we want to correct that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the move icon. Let me zoom in to show you. So this tool will not delete images. So what I do is I move them to a rejection folder. So I've got this highlighted. I'm going to click on this, and it's asking me where my folder that I want to move to is. So I've got some that were already rejected, so I'm going to pick rejected, select folder, and down in our process console we can see it was moved over to that rejected folder. It's still in the blink list, so I'm going to use this icon here to close the selected image. So now that image is out of the picture, and then I'm going to keep going through, just kind of tab through, and it takes some practice, but you kind of defocus your eyes and look at the whole image and just keep looking for aberrations, maybe streaks. Sometimes you get streaks from planes or satellites coming through. There's a lot of different interference that can happen. So we'll continue through. We've got about 200 images. You can see there's another streak one. So it'll remember the last folder. So I'm going to click that and just hit enter and get rid of that. So we've just rejected 2 images. We'll keep going through. And right there you can see this streak right here in the lower edge of the frame, so that's not a good image, so we'll go ahead and remove that. And always remember to remove it from your blink list too, so you're not trying to move it again a second time. So we're going through, we're about halfway there. Keep going. There's a streak here, so we'll go ahead and get rid of that one. And keep going. All right, and here's kind of where we have to do a judgment call, because you can see the frame is starting to get progressively lighter. And if we cheat and go to the end, we end up, my telescope actually hit the edge of my house. But I'm gonna quickly go through and kind of figure out when the cloud started, and that was somewhere around here. I'm just gonna reject this whole block of images because they're just too washed out. So let's go ahead and move those. And remove them. And now I'm going to just press play and watch this go through. And as much as I hate to have gotten rid of so many images, that white washed out just wasn't going to cut it. So you can see I still have a little bit of it, but so we'll stop that, and I'm just going to show you the results of this. So this third icon closes all the images out. If I do open and I'm in the accepted, you can see now we have fewer files because we rejected so many. The other thing we can do is open up the rejected directory, and I'm just going to show you what the frames look like that were rejected. So we'll load those. And sometimes the telescope that I use, Stellina, automatically rejects certain images based on its own criteria. So that's why that folder already had a few items in it. But sometimes you may not agree with the rejected images. You might have a perfectly good frame that for whatever reason was kicked out. So sometimes it's good to review those and include them in, but I didn't realize I had so many rejected images. That is quite a few. All right, and if we look at these, you can see they're blurry, they're washed out, they've got clouds, there's streaks, there's double images, there's trails going through. So I feel pretty good that the rejected folder captured the rejected images. So now I've got a set of clean images, and my next step will be to pre-process those.